90% of lottery winners are broke again within 5 years. Some of them are dead within 5 years. Not from bad luck, from people. People who smiled at them, hugged them, called them family, and then quietly took everything. This is the story of the ones who didn't fall for it and the ones who did, and exactly what separated them. If you suddenly had $10 million sitting in your bank account tomorrow morning, what is the very first phone call you would make? Type your answer in the comments. I genuinely read every single one. And while you're down there, guess this for me. Out of the 12 stories I'm about to walk you through, which one do you think ends the worst? Lock in your guess before I get there, because I promise you it's not the one you're thinking of. And if you've got a parent, a sibling, a friend who just came into any kind of money, an inheritance, a settlement, a bonus, send them this video before they make one of these mistakes, because these mistakes are cheap to avoid and brutal to survive. Before we get into it, if stories like this hit you the way they hit me, hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel grow. And subscribe if you want more real financial mysteries like this one landing in your feed. All right, let's get into it. On Christmas morning in the year 2002 in Hurricane, West Virginia, a construction company owner named Jack Whitaker stopped at a gas station to buy a Powerball ticket. He won $314 million, the largest single-ticket jackpot in American history at the time. Jack wasn't poor. He already ran a successful pipeline business worth tens of millions. He had money sense. And that's exactly why what happened next is so important, because it proves something brutal. Financial intelligence does not protect you from human predators. Within weeks of his win becoming public, Jack was carrying around a briefcase stuffed with cash, sometimes as much as $500,000 at a time, handing it out to strangers at strip clubs, church groups, and diners. His face was everywhere. Reporters had his name, his town, his routine. That's mistake number one, and it's the biggest one on this entire list. He never protected his identity. In several states, you're legally allowed to claim lottery winnings through a trust instead of your personal name. Jack could have set up what's called a blind trust, claimed the money under that trust's name, and stayed a ghost. Instead, every con artist, every relative he'd barely spoken to in a decade, and every so-called financial advisor in a 500-mile radius suddenly knew exactly who he was and exactly where to find him. Money started disappearing almost immediately. His car was broken into twice with cash inside it. Someone drugged his drink at a strip club and stole over $500,000 from his vehicle while he was unconscious. He was sued repeatedly. His granddaughter, who he showered with cash and gifts, died of a drug overdose in 2004, and he later said publicly that he wished he'd torn up the ticket. By 2007, most reports estimated the fortune was essentially gone, not stolen in one dramatic heist, bled out, slowly, by dozens of people who all knew his name. Here's my honest take on Jack Whitaker's story, and I want you to sit with this for a second. It wasn't stupidity. He was already a millionaire before he won. This was about exposure. The moment your win becomes public knowledge, you don't just gain money, you gain thousands of people who now see you as a walking bank account. That's why move number one, staying anonymous wherever your state legally allows it, isn't paranoia. It's the single most protective decision a winner can make, and almost nobody does it. Now let's go to Florida, 2006. A man named Abraham Shakespeare, working odd jobs and living modestly in Lakeland, won $30 million on a scratch-off ticket. Abraham was generous almost to a fault. He gave away homes, cars, and cash to friends and family constantly. But the person who destroyed him wasn't a stranger. It was a woman named Doris D.D. Moore, who inserted herself into his life claiming she wanted to write a book about his story and protect him from people trying to take advantage of him. The irony is almost too dark to say out loud. In 2009, Abraham vanished. His family reported him missing. In 2011, his body was found buried under a concrete slab behind a house connected to D.D. Moore. She was later convicted of his murder. This case teaches move number two. Be deeply suspicious of anyone who appears in your life immediately after your win and positions themselves as your protector, your manager, or your gatekeeper. Real trust is built over years, not weeks. If someone shows up right after headlines about your jackpot and starts controlling who has access to you, that is not protection, that's isolation. And isolation is exactly how predators operate, whether it's a stranger or, in some of the darkest cases on record, a family member. Which brings us to move number three, and this one is uncomfortable, but it has to be said. Not every threat to your money wears a stranger's face. In 1996, Jeffrey Dampier won $20 million in the Illinois lottery. He was known for his generosity. He bought his sister-in-law, Victoria Jackson, a home and a car. In 2005, Victoria and her boyfriend kidnapped Jeffrey, and he was shot and killed. She's currently serving a life sentence. I'm not telling you these stories to make you distrust everyone you love. I'm telling you because financial advisors who specialize in sudden wealth will tell you the exact same thing every single time. The people closest to you need boundaries just as much as strangers do, sometimes more, because you'll let your guard down for them in ways you never would for someone you just met. Quick question for the comments while we're in the middle of this, because I want to know honestly, which one of these three stories has shocked you the most so far? Type it below. I want to see the responses. Let's shift now to a story that shows what happens when the danger isn't a person at all, but pure financial mismanagement, because scammers aren't the only threat. Your own decision-making under pressure can do just as much damage. William Bud Post won $16.2 million in the Pennsylvania lottery in 1988. Within a year, he was more than $500,000 in debt. His own brother allegedly hired a hitman to try to kill him for a piece of the winnings, a plot that was thankfully stopped before it happened. Bud invested in businesses he didn't understand, loaned money to family that was never repaid, and made large purchases without any real financial planning. By the mid-1990s, he had filed for bankruptcy, and he later said publicly that he considered the win a curse rather than a blessing. This gives us move number 4. Get a fiduciary financial advisor, someone who is legally required to act in your best interest, not a salesperson working on commission who profits when you buy the products they're pushing. And move number 5, right alongside it. Never make a major financial decision, an investment, a business purchase, a large loan to someone else in the first 90 days. Emotional decision-making after a sudden windfall is one of the most well-documented patterns in behavioral finance. Winners who wait, who sit on the money and think, consistently make better long-term decisions than winners who act immediately. Now here's a story that flips the script completely because I want you to see what doing it right actually looks like. In 2019, a man named Manuel Franco won $768 million in Wisconsin, one of the largest Powerball jackpots ever awarded to a single winner. Before he ever claimed the ticket, Manuel did something most winners never think to do. He hired an attorney first. Not a financial advisor, not a real estate agent, a lawyer, specifically to help him set up a trust to claim the winnings anonymously and to build a legal structure around the money before a single dollar hit his account. That's move number 6. Your very first call after securing the physical ticket should be to an attorney who specializes in sudden wealth, not your bank, not your family, an attorney. Wisconsin didn't allow full anonymity at the time, but the trust structure still gave him a critical layer of protection and distance. Move number 7 comes from a pattern financial planners see constantly with pooled lottery groups, and it's the story of Sandra Hayes and a group of co-workers in Missouri who won a share of a $224 million Powerball jackpot in 2006 as part of an office pool. Group wins sound simple until you realize how many of them end in lawsuits between the very people who won together, arguments over who bought which ticket, who was technically part of the pool that week, who gets what percentage. If you ever win as part of a group, get a written, signed, notarized agreement before you ever claim the prize, not after. Handshake deals between friends and coworkers fall apart the second real money is involved, and courts see these disputes constantly. Here's my honest opinion on why so many of these stories end badly, and I want to be straight with you about this. It's not because winners are careless people. It's because we are never taught how to receive money we didn't slowly build ourselves. If you save for 20 years to buy a house, you develop instincts along the way. You learn caution, you learn to research, you learn to say no. A jackpot skips that entire process. You go from ordinary financial decisions to life-altering ones overnight, with zero practice runs. That gap between the size of the money and the experience you have handling it is exactly where every predator, every bad investment, and every desperate family member finds their opening. Which takes us to move number 8, and it's simple, but it's constantly ignored. Don't quit your job or announce your win on social media in the first few weeks. Evelyn Adams won the New Jersey lottery not once but twice, in 1985 and again in 1986, a combined total of over $5 million, a genuinely rare feat. But she gave large amounts away to family, gambled heavily in Atlantic City casinos, and by the mid-1990s, she was reportedly living in a trailer with almost nothing left. Publicity invites requests, invites pressure, invites strangers with business proposals that always seem to need your money specifically. The quieter you are, the smaller your target becomes. Move number 9 is about verification, and it comes from a pattern that financial crime investigators flag constantly with sudden wealth recipients, not just lottery winners. Scammers specifically target people whose windfalls become public record. They pose as investment managers, charity representatives, even IRS officials, claiming you owe immediate taxes or fees to release additional funds. A real IRS agent will never call you demanding immediate payment over the phone. A real investment opportunity does not require you to decide within 24 hours. If anyone is creating urgency, pressuring you to skip due diligence, that pressure itself is the scam. Move number 10, set up automatic, structured giving if you want to help family and friends rather than open-ended access to your accounts. Financial advisors who specialize in sudden wealth recommend something called a giving plan, a fixed budgeted amount set aside specifically for helping loved ones, separate entirely from your core savings and investments. This does two things. It protects the bulk of your wealth from slowly bleeding out the way Jack Whittaker's did, and it protects your relationships too, because I've allocated this much to help you is a boundary, while unlimited access is an invitation for resentment when it eventually runs out, and it always eventually runs out. Move number 11, diversify slowly and boringly. Marie Holmes won $188 million in North Carolina in 2015 and made headlines for putting a portion of her winnings into a structured plan rather than a single lump sum payout, which financial experts consistently point to as one of the smarter early decisions a winner can make because it forces discipline instead of relying on willpower alone. Annuitized payouts, spread over 20 or 30 years instead of one massive lump sum, remove the single biggest risk factor in almost every failed lottery story we've covered today, having access to the entire fortune all at once, right when your judgment is most compromised by shock and excitement. And move number 12, the one that ties every single one of these stories together. Build a team before you need one. An attorney, a fiduciary financial advisor, and if the amount is large enough, a licensed accountant who specializes in high net worth clients. Not friends who are good with money, not a cousin who took a few finance classes. Licensed professionals with fiduciary and legal obligations to protect your interests, and ideally, professionals you select and vet yourself, not ones recommended to you by someone who suddenly appeared after your win. So here's the lingering thought I want to leave you with. Every single tragic story we covered today, Jack Whittaker's briefcase full of cash, Abraham Shakespeare's fatal trust in the wrong person, Bud Post's rushed investments, they all share one root cause: speed. Every bad decision happened fast, under emotional pressure, without a team in place to slow things down. And every winner who protected their fortune long term shares the opposite pattern. They slowed down, they built protection before they needed it, and they treated a sudden fortune with more caution, not less, than money they'd earned gradually. So here's my last question for you, and I really want an honest answer in the comments. Out of these 12 moves, which one do you think you'd forget to do first if this happened to you tomorrow? Be honest, I want to know. If this video actually gave you something valuable, hit like, it helps more than you'd think. Subscribe if you want more real stories like this one, and share it with the one person in your life who needs to hear it before they ever get the call that changes everything.